Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's really great to have Sean here, and I guess a great place to start is with the football. The lessons of South Sydney and your career generally, but in all seriousness, having been through as a player and then administrator, being booted out of the comp and coming back to see the club win, and in such emphatic style. Run us through what you learned from football that's helped you in business.
Well, the first thing I learned in football, and I think this goes to any young kids out there, I think team sport, what team sport, whether it's football, whether it's soccer, whether it's down at the Nippers where you're involved in a team sort of atmosphere, I really benefited from that early on. The fact I was a small man in a big man's game as well certainly teaches you things that you don't always know that you have. Certainly there's a level of toughness that you need to develop, especially playing in the hooking position where I was, right in the middle of the scrum. And when I first came into first grade, rugby league back then was a different game to what it is now. It was much more violent. There weren't as many cameras scrutinising every tackle, every play, and it was a violent game. It's certainly a lot cleaner now, but still just as tough. Yeah. But I think some of the lessons that I learnt in rugby league, especially when you get to first grade, I always thought it would be great to be a first grade coach as a bit of just a test, because everyone knows how volatile it is. You hear one day, go on the next. But the one thing they do have is they have a whole line of people we've spoken about today, how difficult it is to get good staff and recruitment. Well, for rugby league, there's every player in Australia that plays rugby league wants to play first grade. So there's just a lineup of those ready to take the next position. So coaches have the ability to treat players however they want. And some of the things that coaches would say to you and make you do following a loss, if you did that to your staff,
can't do that in your business.
If you did that to your staff, you just wouldn't have a business. It was a very steep learning curve for me. Coming from football, I was retiring. I had a brother I was 30, my brother was 23. He'd done a pastry cook apprenticeship since he was 15 at the shop around the corner, the pie shop, and was making every pie and custard tart and lamington in the shop. And then got to a stage when he got to 20, 21 where he was only earning $400 a week, wasn't getting on well with the girls that he had to work with, and gave it away and was driving a truck and was miserable. And whilst I was always intent on staying involved in rugby league in the administration, I thought what a wasted talent that was. So I went to him and said, look, what if we had our own pie shop? Would it make a difference if you owned the shop rather than just working in it? Because you made everything in that shop. What a talent just to be wasted. And he said, well, look, I've never really paid much attention to how my boss ran the business, but I can make the product. And I said, if you can make the product, I reckon we can make the rest up. And so we opened our first shop at Maroubra,
and the we was you and your dad?
Actually, our father, Terry, he was a wharfie all his life. He left school at the age of 15 and worked in factories and things, and finally got on the waterfront and had worked there for 40 years. And he was just about to retire, and he was looking for something to do, a bit of a hobby. And I said, what about if we had our own pie shop? It'd be good fun, surely. And so we opened our first shop, and I was still doing some commentary work for Channel 9 and on the footy show, and I went to Glenn Pallister, who's still the executive producer today, and said, what if we had a big pie eating contest? And so we did that. And on
the footy show? On
the footy show live. And it went for about 2 hours because they crossed backwards and forwards to us back in 2001.
So they were eating pies?
They were eating pies and drinking Crown Lager behind the scenes.
So you've got this first shop, Maroubra?
Yes. We've got this.
Done the footy show, which
that's right,
for people that don't know, the brand just exploded.
It did. And Garlo's Pies was that shop was just, and it was open from about 4 in the morning till midnight. Such was the popularity, and we just knew we had to get a bigger shop. And so we found a site at Mascot, and we opened the shop virtually a year to the day. And I was still working in the Rabbitohs at this time.